everyone. I'm WOLE-OJOMO, and this is All Things HR, the place where we provide expert perspectives on all HR matters in the workplace, as well as strategies on how to build a successful career, business, and personal life. Dr. John Maxwell always says that everything rises and falls on leadership. What that means is that a successful business rises and falls on leadership. A successful career rises and falls on leadership. Also, successful community, successful families, or successful countries rise and fall on leadership. He also says that leadership is influence. So today we'll be discussing a transformational topic titled Becoming an Influential Leader. And to help us with this discussion is a management consultant, a leadership development strategist, a leadership coach. She's a director with the Women in Tech Nigerian chapter, as well as a member of the Forbes Business Council. Join me in welcoming Mrs. Kemi Ogunkoya.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, great. Good to have you. Quickly, let's delve into the topic. Oftentimes we hear leadership, we hear management, we hear leader, manager. Really, is there a difference between leadership and management, or a leader and a manager?
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for that question. Yeah, leadership and management are two unique terms, but in practice have an overlap now. So there were times where it used to be we're training people to become better leaders, and then we're training them to be better managers. But now we see that there's an overlap, because you need leadership skills and you also need managerial skills to succeed effectively in the workplace. So when we look at leadership skills pretty much focus on being able to influence people towards achieving a particular line of action, a particular goal, a particular objective, while management pretty much now focuses on being able to control, being able to strategize, being able to organize people or organize processes towards the achievement of those particular goals. Leadership also focuses more on a strategic view, a long-term view towards achieving goals, being able to set the vision, being able to create a vision, and then rally people towards the achievement. Why management focuses more on efficiency. So you see that we really cannot let go of one and then hold on to others. So that's where we have the overlap.
Yeah, fantastic. So that means a leader should be a good manager.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Another conversation is always around influence versus authority. Any difference?
Oh, yes. There is a difference between influence and authority. And just like when, you asked about leadership and management, a lot of people confuse influence for authority and authority for influence. And yes, they're also uniquely different terms. So when you look at authority, it's about that power that has been vested in a particular individual to be able to, drive people towards taking a particular decision or carrying out certain actions. While influence focuses more on being able to affect their thoughts, affect their behaviors, affect their ability to take certain decisions. So when we look at authority a lot of time comes from the place of a formal position, right? While there is also an aspect of authority that is informal and is earned. Okay? But influence, I would say that it has a way of buttressing authority. Because we've seen situations where people have authority, but then they can't really make any meaningful decision or drive people towards achieving a particular goal or action. So authority can come in form of you having the power based on a particular hierarchical structure, based on titles, yes, to instruct people to carry out a particular decision. But where the rubber really gets to meet the road is where you can marry influence with authority.
Hey, fantastic. So oftentimes people ask, I do not have a leadership title. So can I influence anyone at all?
Absolutely.
I'm somewhere in between. I don't have a title. Can I influence?
Yeah.
Can I still lead?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's when we appreciate the fact that the greatest currency for leadership is influence, right? Just like I mentioned earlier, you have people who have the authority, but then they cannot influence certain decisions, because influence comes when you can actually get people towards carrying out action from an involuntary perspective, right? Where you don't have to force them. But with authority, I need to tell you, you must do this, you have to do this, and then I hope that you actually get it done. But there's also a misconception that people believe that without without a title, you cannot lead. But leadership has definitely proven to be way beyond the title. I have seen people with titles who struggle to lead, and I've seen people without titles who are able to focus on influence. Because when we look at influence, influence comes from you being able to display some level of expertise, some level of competence, character, personal traits, personal values that can help you move people towards taking a particular line of action. So you do not need a title to influence people. It is more of your personal attributes, it's more of your personal characteristics, it's more of you coming from a place of showing credentials, of the values that you bring to the table. And then, through that, you can actually drive people towards achieving a particular line of action, moving your team forward. And the beauty is that with influence, you can drive sustainability.
Fantastic, fantastic. I like the fact that you say expertise. I mean, with expertise, you are actually able to influence. So you really do not need the title. Once people know that you are the go-to person for something, you can shift minds. You can you can make things happen. Beautiful, fantastic. I often get asked this question. I'm a first-time manager. How do I, and all of a sudden I have to lead a group of people. How do I get into that role and achieve success in that leadership role?
Okay. All right. It's an interesting question. And what I usually say is that a lot of times we have people who get into leadership positions who wait till they are thirsty before they start digging their well. Okay. So my admonition is always, do not wait until you're thirsty before you start digging your well.
So let's unpack that. What does that mean?
So which means that you don't have to wait for you to get your first leadership position or your managerial position to say, I'm going to start developing my leadership skills. So a lot of times we wait until there's time for us to lead in people. And like, I don't know how to lead people. I don't know what to do. So the first thing is coming from a place of preparation, right? And preparation about leading other people effectively as a first-time manager comes from you even volunteering to want to take on leadership positions before, it gets thrown at you. It's also important that you're able to come from a place of self-awareness, which means that as a leader or as a first-time manager, you don't just get to know about yourself when you have to interact with people. I usually say this, that you cannot become better at what you do unless you become better at who you are. So which means that leaders first have to start from that.
Cannot become better at what you do till you become better at who you are.
Right? So leaders who want to lead effectively need to start from a place of self-leadership. So which means that before you can lead other people effectively, you first have to be able to lead yourself, right? And that's you building that level of competence, building character, building capacity to lead. And those muscles, you don't build in a day. So you get to start to understand yourself, building that level and sense of self-awareness, understanding, what's your purpose as an individual? How clear are you about your strengths, your growth areas or weaknesses, as people call it? How clear are you about, your what makes you different, your personality? These are the things that you're going to bring into leadership. How clear are you about your role? Right? Because you cannot lead people when you don't have clarity about,
what
roles.
you should do.
Exactly. Expectation. How are you able to communicate? Have you built the muscle for effective communication? Do you have an understanding about the diverse nature of people? Those are the muscles that you have to build when you're going into leadership. Have you built the competence to be able to listen to people? Because if you want to lead people, you need to come from a place of empathy. You need to come from a place where you're willing to listen, understand that there are different perspectives, and that because those perspectives are not yours doesn't mean it's not right. Those are some of the competence that you have to build to be able to lead people effectively. So I say it starts with clarity, clarity from the place of self, clarity about, the roles, clarity about the people, right? Character. The values that you're going into leadership with has to be crystal clear. Communication is also key. And then competence as a leader. So when we talk about competence, we're looking at you building competence from a technical perspective. Do you know what you have to do, right? Building competence from a human skill perspective, right? You know how to galvanize people, do you know how to influence people? And then as you go on, you now start to build competence from the conceptual skills. So which means that you're able to solve problems, you're able to, communicate with people, you're able to make decisions, you're able to negotiate, and so much more.
All right, fantastic. I like the fact that you don't have to wait till it comes to you before you start exercising those muscles.
Yeah.
So opportunities, look out for
Oh, yeah.
opportunities.
Absolutely.
Volunteer. I mean, for some people, you're in church, lead a team,
Yeah.
and you start from there before you move
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
workplace or before that opportunity comes to
Yeah.
you in the workplace. Fantastic. In your book, The Leadership Guardian, you talked about the dozen model leadership. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Okay.
And how can people put that into practice in the workplace?
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So the dozen model leadership framework is a body of 12 complementary skills that leaders have to embody to come from a place of effectiveness, right? We see a lot of things happening in the workplace where we have leaders who just stumble, and just find their way into leadership. But for you to develop effective leadership, through research, through lots of interviews, we were able to come up with this 12. And the 12 begin with clarity. I mentioned earlier that you cannot lead yourself effectively, or you can't lead others effectively if you haven't been able to lead yourself. So it begins with clarity and, clarity about who you are, clarity about what the organization is even all about. We see situations where people are within organizations, they don't have an idea of what the organization is set up to even achieve. I've also seen situations where even the founders are not clear about what, they were initially set up for. So it begins with clarity and then you have character, right? Character is also another key element of effective leadership. And, without character, we cannot sustain our values as an organization. Without character, we cannot clearly define the culture that we hope to, build as a people. So character is also very key within any organization. And character also helps us drive the place of values, so and we just know how important values are within organizations. And the third is competence, and we cannot drive effective leadership that is void of competence. Competence, whether technical competence, human skill competence, or conceptual skills, those are competence and muscles that leaders within the organization have to be able to build and develop. And then commitment, commitment to a particular line of action, commitment to our values, commitment to what we stand for, commitment to, our promise to our customers, for example, our internal team. Those are areas that we also have to build muscles towards. Communication is also another vital, element of that dozen model that we cannot overlook the importance. Probably as from the place of internal communication, even to the place of external communication, and then there's also the place of consideration, and that's where empathy comes in for leaders. Gone were the days where we just lead organizations anyhow. There's a whole lot of dynamics that have changed in terms of how people want to be treated in the workplace, in terms of the demographics of people in the workplace. A whole lot has, changed. Critical thinking is also another key element of that model. And, that shows us just how things have changed. We live in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We need people to be thinking and thinking quickly, to be able to do that. Community is also very key, and is a key part of that model. And from the place of community, we're actually raising leaders all through the organization across different levels within the organization. So those are some of the key elements of that model.
Okay, that actually reminds me of what Dr. John Maxwell says. So the true test of a leader is not in the number of followers he has, but the number of other leaders he or she can develop.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And for everyone watching, if you really want to settle into a leadership role or do well as a leader, Go and get that book, Leadership Guardian, and you'll be able to see the dozen model leadership style that can help you build your leadership capacity. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Another question I would ask is, as a leader, how do I get great people to join my team? Everybody wants to have great people on their team. Jim Collins, in his book, Built to Last, yes, he says that great vision without great people is irrelevant. Absolutely. Or, in fact, he actually says it's a nightmare. So I would say, how do I, as a leader, get great people to join my team?
All right, awesome. So the starting point is actually to be, the kind of person that embodies the kind of people you want to attract, right? So which means that because you want great people, you first have to be great. People first have to be able to see that level of greatness in you, either in terms of your competence as a leader, to clarity, do you have a clear sense of purpose? Is a culture right? Are we able to communicate effectively on this team? Are you able to communicate effectively, to other people? Because it's not just enough for you to want to attract the right people. It's also that when you eventually find the right people, they have a reason to want to stay. Okay. So it's important that you first are able to embody what and clearly articulate what great people look like and what that great team that would attract those kind of people also look like. But for that to happen, there has to be great level of clarity, clarity around roles, clarity around expectations, clarity around the culture that we're building. And that level of clarity has to be clearly communicated without ambiguity. So which means that somebody is coming on your team, they know that, on this team, excellence is really what it stands for, right? We have the values of respect. We have the values of punctuality, right? We have the value of competence, which means that when we do things, we do it in a particular way. So when you want to attract those kind of people, they have to be able to, because those kind of people are also not loafers.
Yeah.
So they're not
looking
going
out for those things.
Absolutely. So those are some of the things that you need to be able to embody. There has to be a clear sense of direction because people who are high performing need to know that we're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to be able to clearly articulate that and then also create a system for rewarding and appreciating people on your team. Right. High performers want to be seen, they want to be heard. So which means that behaviors or attributes like micromanagement should not exist on a team where you want to be able to attract high performing people. So you also have to be able to create a culture of trust, a culture of mutual respect, a culture of collaboration. Those are some of the things that have to be right to attract, these high performing people and also make them stay.
Fantastic. I want to say that if you're watching this video at this particular point in time, please click the subscribe button so that you can get notified every time that we upload new videos. Also, like, share, and comment. Share your comments in the comment section. Fantastic. Another question I will ask is, we're living in uncertain times. There are many things happening in the global economies, happening across organizations. We've come out of the pandemic. People are in recovery mode now. In your book, and just right now, you talked about VUCA. Tell us a bit about it.
Okay.
VUCA and DVUCA.
Okay.
How will I or anyone as a leader lead his or her people through uncertain times?
All right. So I'd say I'll start by saying that uncertainty, is our reality now. So it seems like we are kind of getting out of the COVID, curve. But trust me, we're always dealing with something new, right? There's always going to be a new change, and therefore, the VUCA comes to play here. So VUCA, VUCA, is a term that was borrowed from the US military,
Yeah.
sometimes in 1945 or so, and that word was borrowed into the business world, which definitely embodies what our current reality looks like. So V stands for volatility, U stands for uncertainty, C stands for complexity, and then A stands for ambiguity. And if you look at what the business world or environment or just even our daily living is all about, it represents
And VUCA
this
at any
this
point in
VUCA,
time.
because at this point it seems like you know exactly what you're doing, and then the next thing there's a disruption,
Yeah.
right? So we say now that for you to live in these times of uncertainty as a leader, you need to have the antidote for VUCA. Now, the antidote for VUCA is also VUCA. And by that, it means that for you to be able to deal with that level of uncertainty or volatility as a leader, you need to come in with vision. Right? So with vision, you will be able to navigate uncertainty because you have your eyes on the ball. And we need more leaders to be able to keep their eyes on the ball, because guess what? In the time of uncertainty, just imagine a ship, right, in the middle of a storm. At that point where everything seems to be in different direction, it's easy to want to say, okay, maybe we don't go this way again, maybe we go that way. But we need leaders to be able to stay true to the vision. And that's why we need, leaders in terms of uncertainty to come equipped with vision. And it takes us back to clarity that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And then leaders also in the time of uncertainty also have to be able to equip themselves with understanding. So that's you meeting you. Right? So understanding meeting uncertainty. So which means that they need to have been able to build a level of understanding around what's happening around their environment. It could be understanding about what's happening within the macro environment, the micro environment, within their industry, what's changing in terms of customer preferences, what is changing within, the organization in terms of the behavior of our employees. So which means that we cannot afford to stay still. Right? We cannot afford to deploy yesterday's tools for today's reality anymore. They're going to disgrace us, right? So leaders also have to constantly build the muscle for understanding. So which means they're constantly learning, they're constantly unlearning, they're constantly relearning. They're opening their eyes to see the changes. They're opening their ears to actually pay attention to what's happening around them, because even the slightest changes can cause even very great impact. And then C is coming with clarity to meet complexity. So, in the midst of the storm, how are we able to stay focused, right? How are we able to keep our eyes on the ball? Those are some of the things that you have to be able to build in the time of uncertainty. And then agility, helps you meet that level of ambiguity. So how quickly are you able to respond to change? So that's VUCA. Now, the VUCAD, the additional D that came to join the pack now talks about disruption.
Okay.
Right? There has to be a level of disruption to all of this. So which means that you're in a state where, you know that changes will happen, but you have to be prepared to disrupt those changes. Gone were the days where they say, wait for the change to happen and then you respond to the change. But now you have to be way ahead of the curve of the change so that you
no
can
longer
deal.
change management.
Things have definitely changed. Now, we have now the D VUCAD.
Yeah.
Now, the extra D there now talks about diversity, right?
Okay.
And it's about just appreciating that even in the midst of all the uncertainties, there's no one way fits all approach to it anymore, right? So either in terms of perspective, either in terms of processes, we need to be open to new ways of doing things. We need to be open to new perspectives. And, we just need to be in a place where we're positioned enough to respond appropriately to change.
Fantastic. Right. Fantastic. So that means the antidote for VUCA is DVUCAD.
Yes.
Fantastic. So if you really, really want to have information about this, get The Leadership Guardian, written by Kemi Ogunkoya. There's an app that you have, Leadership X or Leader X. Please just tell us about it.
Okay, so Leader X is a leadership development mobile application that helps leaders, professionals, business leaders, entrepreneurs develop their leadership skills on demand, in real time, anywhere, anytime. And we developed the app to deal with the challenges of time, finance, and also sustenance, which are major challenges that affect professionals and individuals from developing their leadership skills. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be a better leader, but I don't have time," right? So with this app, with as little as 10 minutes a day, in fact, with as little as 5 minutes, actually, you can get to build your muscles by getting access to book summaries, daily content, lessons, affirmations, quotes, nuggets, a community of other leaders where you can shape each other's mind, share experiences, learn from each other, articles, mood
So
music for productivity
how
to
can they
help them
get it?
develop. So they can get the app by downloading the app. It's available on the iOS stores and also on the Google Play Store, and they're good to go.
Fantastic. So let's tie it all together. So how do I become an influential leader? Or can I lead through influence?
Okay. So leading through influence first starts from the place of clarity, about what you want to achieve. What kind of leader do you want to be? And that takes you on a journey of self-awareness, where you understand that you have to let go of some mindsets that are unproductive about leadership. Mindsets such as, oh, you're only a born leader. Right? You understand that leadership can be learned, is a muscle that you can build. Also understanding that leadership is not about a position. Now, when you're able to demystify that and take that off, now you are now in a place where you're willing to learn about yourself, learn about others, being able to, build influence, being able to learn how to communicate, which are the skills that you need as a leader, being able to have focus, being able to develop vision and then drive or rally people towards achieving that particular goal or objective.
So to everyone, if you're really looking to become an influential leader, this is one topic you can't afford not to listen to. Watch it over and over again. And I can assure you that you will pick something that would help you on your journey to becoming an influential leader. So don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified every time we upload new topics. And also a quick question. If I want to hear from you, so please share with us your own leadership journey. How have you gone through uncertain times? How have you grown your leadership skills? Share it with us in the comment section. We really love to hear from you. And if you have any questions at all, please just drop it in the comment section and we will definitely answer it. Thank you for listening. Have a great time.